Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Kislev and the Wood Elves. It's going to be myself with Katarin on her mighty ice sled facing off against Serkia, who's going to be rocking the Wood Elves, and I believe it is a caster who's going to be spamming Melkoths on my expensive units here on the Eastern Isle colony. Now, as far as the build goes, to no surprise, frontline is going to be Armored Kossars. Kislev warriors are solid, but they're going to get melted by archers, and yeah, it's not a great time for them for sure, because, you know, basically you want to bring those into armored factions, and against Wood Elves, you're not only wasting the armor piercing that they have, but also their offensive output isn't going to be enough to get through the base troops, and Dryads will wreck them. So you really just pretty much have to go with Armored Kossars, which isn't a bad thing. They're great. They did get massively nerfed. They lost 4 melee attack this patch, and also had a cost increase the previous patch. So finally getting to a place where they're a little bit more fair for sure. So front line's going to be Armored Kossar. Secondary is going to be the Wolfhearts as well as the Akshina Ambushers. And, you know, we're going to try and give the Wood Elves a taste of their own medicine. And I really do like the Akshina Ambushers. They were obviously very OP when they used to have AP value, but now they feel like they're in a bit of a better spot. Being able to snare down the Wood Elf Cavalry and high value targets, whether it be like Way Watchers or characters, whatever, feels great. And yeah, they do good against light armor. On the side, we got one Kislevite Warrior because I only had enough money to pay for that. Armored Kossars and Sled. So she's really, really good in this matchup. She's got 110 armor, so anything aside from Way Watchers is going to have an incredibly tough time killing her. High HP pool, very maneuverable, and is excellent with Icebane's Kiss. Frostfang, that combo, really good at clearing out Wood Elves. And if you're able to get Way Watchers or any kind of a upper tier unit like Blade Singers, she can wreck them pretty badly. I think she's going to be very good in this patch. We do have Glade Riders here, and for my opponent, yep, Glade Riders, Dryads, a lot of archers and spears. Obviously, they are elves, and the Hawkeyes of Jakira are going to be the elite unit. Probably looking to snipe my characters' high-value targets, shoot down my Griffin Legion that's going to be coming in. That's clearly going to be the goal. And they have a nice hiding spot on this map. They can kind of sit between this objective right here, Objectives 1 and Objective 2, and get some good value. And yeah, it's going to be a Melkoth's caster, so no longer can you unsummon lords. Feels so good. I'm loving this patch. It's definitely a big breath of fresh air. Forgot to mention, I do have a little Grom in my build. I always think having something to give you the agency against elves is really nice, and artillery is one of the few things that can do that. Kind of forces them to play on your terms a little bit, where they have to engage you here instead of just kind of, shenanigans. So cannon shot, boom, bowling pin right there. Big damage against those Starfire shafts. I've already taken out over 30 models, so that's really, really good. 38 models going down. And I will be moving up with my Armored Kossars up on the point. Going to be trying to grab this one here and see what we can do. Meanwhile, Sled is going to be rolling around. My opponent does have a juicy little blob right here. 2 archer units as well as Glade Guard Starfire shafts. So we're going to get a Frostfang on them in a second. That should be pretty good value, I'm hoping. So, Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, very, very powerful, excellent against these type of armored troopers. Pistol fire is going to be coming out, and archers of the elves are shooting from the trees and immediately getting some good value against me. So we do call in some heavy cavalry. The Griffin Legion will be moving in to assist on the battlefield, and we are repositioning the Little Grom in this situation while the Wood Elf front lines do move in. And we should be able to win it. The Armored Kossars head-to-head should take on the Eternal Guard, but, they're much cheaper than the Armored Kossars, so probably a better trade for the Wood Elves overall. But Sled waiting for the opportunity. My opponent doesn't really have any big fighty characters, no Sisters of Twilight, and no snares either, no Prey of Anothrema. So, once the Sled gets going, it's going to be able to cause some big havoc for sure. But yeah, nice positioning for my opponent. Glade Guard Starfire Shafts are here, and the newly massively buffed Wild Hunters of Kurnus, which are now an AP unit, so these things have huge AP values, and they can melt down, your Griffin Legion. If they get a good charge, it feels bad. So here we get a Frostfang, so the Frostfang goes down on the Hawkeyes of Jakira, Frostfang and Icebane's Kiss, and we focus fire them with all our Akshinas. So that was a really, really good value. Katarin already probably up to a decent, 600 value just from like one sequence of spells. And she's also going to be dropping a Snow Leopard down, so the Leopard does get in there, starts clawing these 1,500 gold archers in the face. So I was like, in this game, thought I was in a really commanding position, but then the ambush from the woods coming out. We do get ambushed here. The Wolfhearts get hammered by not only the Hawkeyes of Jakira, but also the Wild Hunters of Kurnus moving from the trees. But I do use the Pack Trap on them and countercharge. So that was a sneaky little play there, and that's why the Akshinas are quite good. So we snare them down, we get the Griffin Legion charge, and Sled is going to be on her way back, and she will be helping in combat, as her combat prowess is actually really good. The weapon strength is 450. There's also a couple Ice Guards sitting on the side who are going to be applying Frostbite. And we do get a nice Icebane's Kiss, putting their speed down to 43. And calling it a dub. So in terms of value trading, 3,000 against 2.3. Neither of us really have a ton of healing, but I will be calling in a Patriarch soon. Here are some Dervishes that'll be getting active on the battlefield. But I am kind of losing out of the front line. We do have our Snow Leopard still trundling in the backfield here. Armored Kossars are being worn down by the Great Stag Knights, but Katarin's going to be getting in the way. And the Watchman in the Night, a super cool unit. So fun to be able to play Kislev again. And yeah, they're going to move in and definitely butcher these Eternal Guard with their cool glowing blades. But here comes the pressure. The Great Stag Knights moving into the secondary. Action is putting some hurt on, but they do connect with the Wolfhearts. Probably going to break that unit. Sled doing good in tandem with the Little Grom. Little Grom doing great damage there, and the Kosovo Dervishes should be able to come in and clean them up. In the meantime, in the woods, we do have the Griffin Legion. They, got battered pretty good considering they had a huge advantage against those Wild Hunters and had an allied unit. It shows that that buff to the Wild Hunters is no joke. Wood Elves are, I think, the highest win rate faction on our tournament circuit right now, which is, honestly, I played a couple games against them, and Rexa or Serkia, my opponent here, is, I believe, last season was the #1 player in leaderboard in terms of tournaments. We'll have the season finals coming up. It'll be fun to see how they perform. But, if you can hang with them playing on Wood Elves, it's, definitely not, like, unbeatable or anything like that. But Kislev is also very, very strong still. Even after the nerfs, Kislev is still a top-tier faction. I would say top 3, top 4 in that range. Could he? Yeah, and again, it's too early to really draw a lot of judgments. But the Watchmen of the Night here, cutting through these units, their bonus first infantry in tandem with their 50 weapon strength, very, very good. In the backfield, Little Grom is going to be doing a 360 no-scope. I have no idea what was going on there. Oh, yes, they're trying to shoot at the Great Stag Knights so they don't rally and come back. Akshina Ambushers, okay fighters, probably going to be able to beat these Eternal Guard in combat. And Katarin is just going bananas in the backfield, farming so much value. Like Glade Guard, Hawkeyes, Glade Guard. And yeah, you could see the build for the Wood Elves. There's not really anything that can deal with her, effectively. There has been some loose shooting going at her. I did call in a Patriarch as well, so the Patriarch will be moving up to provide heals to Katarin here in a moment. And now she's going to be heading back across, already getting 2,500 value, which makes sense. She's gotten Ice Maiden's Kisses, Frostfangs on high-value targets, and also has done some really good impact damage as well. Here's another one right there, right? And that's huge damage. Hits the Dryads, also hits these. Going to be getting a flanking charge. Sled is no joke. We get in there, we ram the impact hits, roll the D6, and it certainly rolled the 6 there, as the Little Grom just absolutely melts the HP off those cavalry. You can see the Little Grom getting a bowling pin shot in tandem with Katarin's charge. That was big damage, as the French would say. 7.7 against 5.4. We're definitely up in value, but down in points. So always got to be careful when you're playing against a player of the caliber of my opponent. Ambushers are back in business. And these units are so good because even if they only have a couple models, they still get their snare ability, which is so powerful. And Katarin was starting to get a little bit low. The attrition from all the spears and some of the great stags and cavalry was starting to add up. So I was like, okay, I need to get Katarin back here. You can see I'm going to be microing the Tsarina, looking to get some heals with the Patriarch, and hopefully that will do some work. So here it comes, and Salak's Lullaby is going to be procced. That's going to be a fat heal. And it was so brutal back in the day when Kislev had that free automatic perpetual heal in the Patriarch. That was so freaking unfair, man. But yeah, Kislev Warriors, the one that I did bring, hanging in there. They do have the Unbreakable thing and a big HP pool, but they will eventually probably lose that fight 2v1. Their damage output just isn't up to task here. But Katarin, reinvigorated, going to be getting another one. So that's going to be another brutal Ice Maiden's Kiss. They have just been doing so much damage, up to 3,000 value this game. And that's what happens when a chariot can go kind of uncontested. It kind of make me think, I was like, man, I should have brought some heavy war sleds too. They would just be super destructive here based on the build. But again, if they, I don't know, what would you mix in? Maybe a Zote. I have seen some people use Zotes in this matchup occasionally. They could probably be menacing. But Griffin Legion, once again, hammered by the Melkoths. Melkoths has been doing excellent work. I bet my opponent's casters up to about 1,500. I would guess, yeah, 1,370, not bad at all. It certainly exceeded its cost so far. But Griffin Legion trying to make its way through here, and we do get Great Stag Knights flanking around. We get a brutal flank on them. Not flank, but net from the Packmasters back here, from the Wolfhearts. So we get the snare, and now the Tsarina is going to be coming over to help. Griffin Legion is going to be retreating away from the Great Stag Knights, who are frostbitten right now. So they're at 63 speed, trying to kite them and use the damage from Little Grom. And we get some big damage. Also, the Wolfheart's hitting him. Katarin going to be coming in the back with her sled here. Patriarch does get run over a little bit there, as the Griffin Legion is just going to be trying to maneuver away from a bad situation. And now it's time to reroute our forces. So we do see some spears moving up from my opponent, maybe thinking to get a little bit sneaky on Objective 3. But another Griffin Legion is going to be hustling up. And, I think that Winged Lancers, arguably could be decent. They are faster than Griffin Legion, but Griffin Legion is just so sturdy. I do think that they're probably the better choice. They're kind of like the Knights of the Black Rose, but they're more dynamic because they can do well against... They're straight up just really, really good. That Heroic Charge ability or Glorious Charge is pretty nuts. So, Patriarch here and Katarin trying to work through these spears and dryads. Been a little bit of an arduous task. We've been struggling with that one a little bit. My opponent thinking about playing the back objective perhaps. The riding was on the wall and I did see it coming, so I do decide to get some armored Kossars and move them up preemptively, seeing the Eternal Guard here. And the way he was posturing his character was also a very, very big tell, but I haven't been able to get the objectives. I am down pretty considerably on points. Tsarina still running through these dryads right here as another Melkoth does go down to the Wolfhearts here. And yeah, they've been hanging in there. Very low life. I'm pretty sure all of their net charges are gone now. Patriarch He's an okay melee fighter. Will help clear some of these units out. But the Tsarina got to be going pretty bonkers here. 3,600. So yeah, she has been going absolutely bananas this game. Tons of good value targets. So Griffin Legion's going to be heading across. My Kossars are hustling, but I'm in danger of losing this objective, which could lose me the game for sure, because I know the momentum's on my side. I see the value, but my opponent is very, very high tier player, and if he's able to get, the objective advantage on me, could still Helm's Deep on the back and cause some trouble, right? But Griffin Legion moves in, gets slapped by another Melkoss. We do use the last pack trap right there. Almost 2,000 value, but we don't have enough capture weight. My opponent does have 5 capture weight and then 8 in total, and I only have 4 here. And my Armored Kossars are still a little ways away. So you just got to, hunker down here, get some consistent momentum. Katarin, with her anti-infantry bonus, just tearing apart these Haggard infantry with some rear charges on her sled. So far, yeah, 4,000 value on her, and there is more to come, right? Because it's mainly just things she's good against. Like, spears can do okay against her, but if they're fighting something else and she rear charges them to the side or the back, it's pretty much just a karate chop in the face, right? So Armored Kossars do arrive. Griffin Legion's going to be getting around the flank here, and once again getting slapped by the Melkoss. The Melkoss is very, very strong, and we're going to be charging into the back of the Eternal Guard. They're not braced. I think he might have tried to brace at the last second. I don't know if that actually counted as a brace, but it looks like overall the charge does connect very well, and those Eternal Guard are going to be getting sandwiched and having a very, very bad time. Moving up are the Kosovo Dervishes. We have old Tsarina Katarin moving across to the Glade Guard Starfire shafts, and she's going to shaft them. She is a very powerful sled. It has 450 weapon strength, so it's going to hit hard, especially with a little bit of Grom support coming in the back. Kosovo Dervishes coming over to clean out the archers, and the Wood Elves are looking a little bit bare bones on things at this point. Colin is going to be Wild Hunters of Kurnus, and they're very powerful now, much like the new Dragon Princes for the High Elves. They're going to be a staple and pretty much auto-take, and they're going to wreck these Griffin Legion pretty bad. But thankfully for me, Griffin Legion do have Buyer Blood, so they'll fight pretty much to the bitter end, and I need to get some milk over here. I need some support. We do have the objective back. Probably just some dervishes would be enough to tie these guys down and provide the much-needed infantry support. And finally, we do break the back of the Elves on this objective. It took like 10 years, but we do manage to break them off. And now you can see the capture weight for the first time in the game is starting to, go in flux and hopefully go our way here. We'll have to see. So Dervishes rear charging here. A little bit of an armored Kossar push. Katarin running over these Haggard archers in the secondary row. And this objective here is going to be going to Kislev for Urson, baby. We're doing it. And Little Grom going to be trying to shoot down the Wild Hunters of Kurnus. This one's going to suck. It looks like they do turn away, which was pretty fortunate for me. But Little Grom only has 2 ammo, so my opponent probably decided it wasn't worth it. Granted, that Little Grom is going to use that ammo well and do some big damage. Kislevite Warrior still hanging in here. We do have some Dervishes and the Patriarch providing those constant heals. Griffin Legion is going to be the call-out here. And knowing that my opponent is going to be forced into a Helm's Deep situation, they can win on just one objective. I believe... No, maybe not actually. It would be really, really tight here, but I think we have enough pushing power to get the kill here. Dryads and Eternal Guard are on their way up. You can see the Wild Hunters of Kurnus here. How much value have they got in this game? Okay, 1,300. They've been summoned twice though. Their first run at it, they got wrecked really badly, but yeah, I still think they're a very, very powerful unit. Griffin Legion with a heroic charge coming in. Lance's couch. Nothing feels better than running down some elves, and they are going to get the business here as the Tsarina's sled does continue moving through. Approaching healing cap, 4.5. Ice Maiden's Kisses, Frost Fangs, and massive chariot damage all over the course of the game have been very, very good. Armored Kossars are coming. The dreaded Griffin Legion with 3 models. They didn't hear no bell, baby. They say those Kislevites are quite tough. We're going to be calling in more Kossars here. And now we have a lot of time to work with. We have a hell of a lot of time. And I'm just going to be consolidating, getting ready to move up. Katarin, the Patriarch, as well as the other cavalry are going to be moving in. Eternal Guard might get braced for this. I do have the charge order on them, so we do get a little bit of a charge down the side, which is going to do fat damage. And Katarin is also going to bowling pin them because they're kind of lined up sideways. Here you can see the caster, the Spellweaver of Shadows. So I've not been able to hunt this game. It's been very annoying fighting in combat as well. And it's an okay fighter. It's not amazing, but it tries. Some more Griffin Legion, more Armored Kossars on the way in. Patriarch anchoring the Kislev lines, maneuvering around the side with the Griffin Legion. I have a couple options here. I could rear charge in and bunker bust these Dryads and these Eternal Guard, or I could come over here and try and salvage this situation, help out the Armored Kossars, and get that flank. And that was, I think, the game plan we decided to go for. Just run over the Dryads here. Dryads are super weak against Shock Cav. They're going to have a terrible time. They have okay armor, but nothing too nuts. And they're going to get run over by these very elite cavalry. Griffin Legion are definitely elite Shock Cavalry. Kind of in that, almost in that Dragon Prince territory, really. But here they come. Another flank charge into the spears. Spears are going to get broken. Armored Kossars hustling up, and Katarin and company slowly breaking through here. Katarin just routing off some of these units. My opponent with a little bit of a cheeky grab here, trying to seal this objective, but the remnants of the Kossars should be able to get the job done. Patriarch, I think I've used all the heals. There might be one more in the back pocket. I'm not 100% sure. But at this point, my opponent would just win on one objective. So I need to get up here. I need to grab this point. Armored Kossars got their pistols out, going to be shooting at the Wild Hunters of Kurnus, who are in very, very bad shape, but I am obstructed. They're not very good at shooting over these units with, gunpowder in this game. Griffin Legion running in, should be able to melt these Dryads pretty quickly. And Katarin is just kind of a ticking time bomb over here. Eventually, she will get through the leadership of these Eternal Guard and come and help out on this fight. But yeah, that clock was making me very, very nervous here. And here we get the flip. We do see the Armored Kossar shooting across over at the Spellweaver of Shadows, who's going to be running back to the trees. And also going to be retreating the Griffin Legion, because I know I need to reset that charge bonus. In sustained combat, I would win it, but I figured it'd be a little bit faster to just get, it going pretty hard in the paint here. So what we do is we move the Armored Kossars in the front. The giant muscle Slavs are going to be heading in, and the Griffin Legion is going to be circling around. Try to sneak around the side and get a charge here, and it looks like it still will be a decent charge. They do kind of connect there, even though they got tethered there. And I think these Eternal Guard are going to be breaking any second. Wood Elf leadership is pretty insane. 16 leadership on these guys. Griffin Legion hustling across this way, and the Dervishes just trying to get interference with them. But yeah, I don't think they're going to have the tools needed. They don't really have a good combat character to stop Katarin at this point. She's just rampaging all over the battlefield. Griffin Legion is going to be doing its dirty. And we'll do some fast forwarding. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion here. You can see some shooting coming in from the Akshina ambushers, and we just overwhelm them and steal the point. And that's going to be GG, well played. Very scrappy game. My opponent is a great player. And, it's a hard matchup, I feel. I do feel like that matchup is Kislev favored. Although, with some of the, maybe it's different now. Maybe it's more evenish, but I still, at my core, feel like that matchup is very, very good for Kislev. But the buffs to Wood Elves are pretty insane. They got some really good buffs. The AP Wild Hunters, the Deepwood Scouts, and also the speed buff to Wild Riders, but that's not very good. Wild Riders will probably still be overshadowed. You're just going to see the cheap cavalry with the Wild Hunters, most likely, but... yeah, they have like an insane win rate on Total Tavern if you guys want to go check that out. Kislev is also climbing up. They're going to be a top 5 faction. Katarin went balls deep that game. She carried that one. 5.2 is pretty nuts. And aside from that, we had Little Grom do very well. The Ambushers did okay. Griffin Legions are always going to do pretty good. They're just heavy cavalry is like the bane of Wood Elves. They've always hated it. But good Wood Elf players, you don't want to open with heavy cavalry. They're just too good at doing it, at dealing with it. You wanna like they'll Melkoths and they'll focus fire you. You want to just engage, use some magic and some shenanigans, and then call in the heavy cavalry in the mid game. That's how you want to roll. But yeah, shutting down those Hawkeyes gave us a ton of early momentum, because when they were gone, we were able to call in the heavy cavalry, right? We had 2 big victories in the early game. We wiped out the Hawkeyes, and we also took down his cavalry in our backfield. And when that happened, I think that gave us the combat momentum to get the value lead. All right, guys, that's it. Take care of yourselves. GG, well played. And that is it for tonight.